Perfect. What time you got? 6:01? 6:01. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Ms. Contra will call this meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Is everybody logged in okay? Yes, sir. All right. So, there's Representative Peoria. Welcome. All right, we're going to move on to our public hearing 2.1, convene a public hearing pursuant to ARS 15-905 and ARS 15-905Q for review of revision number 1 of the fiscal year 2023 expenditure budget. I do need a motion to convene this public hearing.
I move that we convene public hearing.
I'll second that. Ms. Contra, we have a motion by Ms. Underhill and a second made by myself. If you can run us through a voice vote until Representative Pingarelli gets logged on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Sandoval. Representative Pingarelli?
Aye.
President Sandoval?
Aye.
Mrs. Underhill?
Aye.
Dr. Sorensen?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Motion passes with 5 yeas. Thank you, board members. Ms. Myers, welcome. We do not have any public comment tied to this line item, so the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, President Sandoval, members of the governing board, Dr. Reynolds, and community. Thank you for the opportunity to present information regarding the first revision to the district's fiscal year 2023 expenditure budget. Tonight's presentation will provide summary information related to the fiscal 2023 budget process, budget amounts that include maintenance and operations, additional assistance, cash-controlled funds, and grant funds that were approved by the legislature on June 23rd, 2022. I would like to thank our budget analyst, Veronica Fabella, for her assistance with this budget revision, and the information that I'm sharing tonight augments information that was provided during our proposed budget process and adopted budget on July 14th. I have previously shared the requirements related to a school district proposing and adopting a budget each year, as well as information that the Arizona Auditor General's Office published preliminary fiscal year 2023 budget forms for school districts to propose their budget on, due to the legislative session still being underway when the forms were published, and the legislature actually concluded their work on June 23rd of this year. Accordingly, the district did adopt our fiscal year 2023 expenditure budget on July 14th on the preliminary forms with budget limits that were primarily based on revenue projections that were calculated with legislation that was in place prior to June 23rd. The fiscal year 2023 budget revision for the district that is being presented tonight includes the new funding that was approved by the legislature. The summary of the new funding is included on this slide, as well as available on the Arizona Department of Education's website. The final fiscal year 2023 Arizona education budget includes a net 7.51% to the base support level, a transportation support level increase, an 11.44% increase to district additional assistance, also referred to as capital funding, and additional increases to the Group B weights, which are special education related weights, as well as a new opportunity funding weight. Maintenance and operations, as I've shared many times, is where the day-to-day operations for the district takes place. It's salaries and benefits, utilities, supplies, purchase services, as an example, special education and transportation costs. The projected additional maintenance and operations budget amount for fiscal year 2023, in addition to what we've brought forward previously, is $15.2 million. $2 million of this new funding, you'll recall, was recognized when we adopted our budget. That was related to the change in the M&O override, and we wanted to ensure that we could reflect that funding in our tax rate. And so tonight, the remaining $13.2 million for our M&O budget is being recognized with this first budget revision. The total M&O budget includes $32 million of M&O override funding that has been approved by our community, as well as preliminary fiscal year 2022 M&O carry forward projected amounts. Capital funding is used to purchase technology, software, instructional resources, textbooks, repairs to buildings, vehicles, as an example. The new District Additional Assistance capital funding amount for the fiscal year is $41,047,614 and includes full District Additional Assistance restoration, as well as our preliminary carry forward amount. The Classroom Site Fund is used to support eligible staff, compensation, and performance pay. The revised budget for this fund is $52.7 million, which includes a $1.1 million increase related to our projected fiscal year 2022 expenditure budget for this fund and the related carry forward. The revised expenditure budget also includes budgeted amounts for non-levy cash-controlled funds. And I've shared examples in the past, and I have those same 5 examples highlighted on this slide this evening. You'll note that there was an increase for our food and nutrition budget line item. In our adopted budget, it was $10 million, and we've increased that to align more closely for what we project our operational cost to be at an additional $5 million for a total of $15 million. We have $62.2 million budgeted for federal and state grants. That amount is unchanged from our adopted budget. And administration has previously shared that included in our budget are ESSER funds, grants received from the federal government that also are passed through Arizona Department of Education to respond and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. $7.1 million of remaining ESSER 2 funding was included in our adopted budget, as well as $21 million of ESSER 3 funding. The amount in this first budget revision for those two grants remains unchanged with this budget revision. I've also shared concerns regarding the aggregate expenditure limit and the need for the legislature to address this ongoing concern. At this point, it's still in place and does impact every school district in the state of Arizona. We've highlighted areas that we would look to from a budget perspective if indeed the AEL is not addressed. We've listed those on this slide. They've been consistent for many board meetings. We've identified mechanisms or relief valves, if you will, to address this concern. But of course, the funding and the budget that's been approved by the state is in place for school districts to allocate and prioritize. And so again, until the AEL is formally addressed, that is an ongoing concern. And with that, based on the information provided tonight, when we, at a later point in the meeting, have our action item, administration is going to recommend that the governing board approve the fiscal year 2023 expenditure budget revision number 1 as presented. And of course, this is a public hearing. So with that, I have concluded my presentation. I am available to answer the governing board's questions. The community can offer comments. And again, thank you for the opportunity to provide the revised budget for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Yeah, again, we don't have any green slips tied to this particular line item, but board members, questions, comments? Ms. Hill?
Well, thank you for putting this together. As always, it's a lot of work to come up and compile all this information to come up with a new budget for this next year, and I actually do not have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Underhill?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Pingarelli? Questions?
No questions.
Okay. I don't have any questions or comments at this point either. Ms. Myers, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to 3.1, consider to adjourn public hearing. I do need a motion to adjourn this public hearing session.
I move to adjourn the public hearing.
I'll second.
Ms. Contra, we have a motion by Ms. Hill A second by Ms. Underhill. Board members, please cast your votes. Representative Pingerelli, are you all right? Motion passes with 5 yeas. Thank you, board members. All right, moving on to section 4, opening exercises, 4.1, moment of silence, and our Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Sorensen, do you mind leading us in our pledge and moment of silence, please, sir? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. All right, moving on to section 5, address agenda, consider adoption or recommend changes. Any board members have any changes or any items they'd like to pull from consent? Ms. Hill?
No, I do not.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
Ms. Underhill?
No, thank you.
Representative Pingerelli?
No, thank you.
I don't either. All right, with that said, I do need a motion to approve this evening's agenda, and which includes the consent agenda.
I move to approve the agenda and the consent agenda as stated.
I'll second that. Ms. Contra, we have a motion by Ms. Underhill and a second by myself. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes with 5 yeas. Thank you, board members. All right, moving on to section 6, recognitions, 6.1. Ms. Airy, welcome.
Good evening, President Sandoval, members of the board, Dr. Reynolds, cabinet, and guests that have joined us here this evening. I am here to share with you a little bit more about a very exciting collaboration between Grand Canyon University and the Sunflower Center. Many of you know that the Sunflower Center is located on the campus of Canyon Elementary School, and really, truly, if you haven't had an opportunity to see it and experience it, it is an incredible place. Grand Canyon University's Curriculum Design, Development, and Academic Web Services departments collaborated with the leaders, staff, and students at the Sunflower Center to create the Master of Education in Special Education for Moderate to Severe program. Through this collaboration, they created a series of videos designed to provide GCU students with an inside view working with students with moderate to severe disabilities. The all-encompassing series provides students with interviews and professional perspectives from administrators, classroom teachers, paraprofessionals, and other support staff, and also with related service providers. As students engage with the video content, some of which you are seeing here up on the screens, they gain valuable insight into the relationship and communication needed from all stakeholders in order to meet the needs of students with moderate to severe disabilities. Viewing the videos allows students to make comparisons to their own working environments and processes and see perspectives that they may not have experienced in the clinical field sites. The videos are also used as topic resources with the courses and are referenced by students as they complete their topic assignments and their discussion questions. Peoria Unified staff are also able to view the videos, and it enhances their educational experience in this area. We are especially thankful for partnerships like these, for Grand Canyon University and the incredible staff at the Sunflower Center for their participation that help to support the education from with these exceptional students, and of course to support those who are trying to pursue this very important field and career. Here this evening is Grand Canyon University's Assistant Director of Academic Programs, Ms. Julie Blair, and Assistant Dean Lindy Gaudiano. Also in attendance this evening is Mrs. Kristen Balthus, principal at Canyon Elementary School and the Sunflower Center, and some of our amazing teachers, Don Seniorius, Becky Efforts, and Lisa Cornwell. I want to invite all of you to stand so we can give you just a huge round of applause for your participation and support. And board members and Dr. Reynolds, I'd ask you to stay standing because the true guest of honor are the students right in front of you. I would like to introduce Mia Campos and Brendan Lewis, and they deserve a big round of applause. And as you can tell by how excited they are to be here, these are two of the most photographed students by our communications team in the Sunflower Center. So we love to come out and visit with them to capture those big smiles and the great work that they're doing there. So thank you, students, for joining us this evening. We also had Lori Garcia, who's from our Exceptional Services team. She was instrumental in this partnership. She was unable to be here with us this evening, but we're very, very proud of her work. At this time, I'm going to invite Mrs. Balthus, Ms. Blair, Ms. Gaudiano. If you would join me up at the podium, I'm sure that our governing board may have some comments to share with you.
Welcome. Board members, questions, comments? Ms. Hill?
Well, I just want to thank all of you for this amazing work that you're doing within our school district. It's definitely a need that we have, and you actually have a wonderful heart for this program, and that's very evident. And our students definitely benefit greatly from what you're able to provide. So I thank you very much for everything you're doing for PUSD.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen?
Yeah, I just think it's great that there's further advancement because the pedagogy and the instruction and some of these things, you know, working with this wonderful population is really intricate and complicated. So I'm glad that you're providing an opportunity just to have teachers master their craft so these kids can get the most out of their educational experience. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Ms. Underhill?
Yes, I mean, Sunflower is a magical place for sure. So it's really cool to see new students coming in, being able to experience that and learn from you all. And also just the video piece, I think that's huge. You know, as a teacher, I look at video all the time because, you know, it's one thing to read about it, it's another thing to like be doing it, but then you're like, but how do they do it better, right? So I think it's just really a great partnership, and I'm thankful for you guys and for Grand Canyon, so that's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Underhill. Representative Pingerelli?
Well, I just want to say thank you very much for being here. I had the pleasure of touring your facility about a year ago, I think it was. And I would love to come back. I would love to see the students and the staff again. So thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you, Representative Pingerelli. Yeah, I'm going to echo what everyone else has already said, my fellow board members. But, you know, when we talk about our mantra in Peoria, you know, every student, every day, and, you know, when we talk about equity, it's, you know, students with special need and, you know, our thriving students and gender, you know, it's really having partnerships like GCU really helps us build on our capacity to uphold our mantra of ensuring that every student every day has an equitable opportunity to be successful. So I thank each and every one of you for what you do on a daily basis to lift up our youth. And Brendan, Mia, congratulations on all your success and continue the great work. And it's a pleasure to have you here this evening. So thank you. Thank you.
President Sandoval, if we could I know Ms. Baltus is just aching to talk about her students and staff. So if you would take just a minute.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
President Sandoval, members of the board, Dr. Reynolds, I am going to get you later. When I say I'm the proud principal of Canyon and Sunflower, I can't say it enough. I mean, I'm truly blessed. This is just a small sampling of our wonderful students. You are all always welcome to come and see and join and learn and play, and they are truly a blessing, and just it's amazing how they learn and they explore, and I just think people don't give them enough credit, and so it's amazing to see the work that they do. My staff, oh my gosh, they definitely don't get a lot of money, enough money, let me tell you. If I could give them the world, I would, because they absolutely deserve it. I'm just behind the scenes. They are the ones making it happen. And so they know I love and cherish each and every one of them. Yes, Brendan, thank you. So I appreciate all your support and love. And so I hope my staff knows how much they mean to me. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Another round of applause for these individuals.
Well, thank you, President Sandoval. We have one additional recognition for you this evening. I think many of you know when we kick off the new school year here in the Peoria Unified School District, we try to really do it big and celebrate the incredible staff that we have. In particular, we celebrate at our opening event the esteemed Raymond S. Kellis Leadership Award winners. For those of you who aren't familiar with our Raymond S. Kellis Leadership Awards, it is the highest award that you can achieve in our school district. It's only given to 3 employees each year, 1 classified, 1 certified, and 1 administrator. To earn this coveted award, the employees must be employed in our district a minimum of 5 years, and those nominating the individual are charged with citing really specific examples about what it is that they do to go above and beyond, and really to epitomize the values that former Superintendent Dr. Raymond Kellis shared with our community and our district. This year's winners truly were no exception. We invited them to join us this evening. We have 2 of them here, and we have our 3rd winner that will be joining us at an upcoming meeting. But tonight we are proud to celebrate Apache Elementary School's maintenance site foreman, Candelaria Young, and Desert Harbor Elementary School principal, Mrs. Becky Burhow. If you don't mind taking a look at the screen, we want to share a little highlight with you of the moment they found out that they received this award.
This principal will do whatever she can to make sure her students are put first. For those reasons and many, many more, it is my pleasure to announce Ms. Becky Burhow from Desert Harbor as this year's Raymond S. Kellis Leadership and Administration Award winner. We love you. You're amazing. Candy Young works day in and day out to ensure that Apache is a beautiful and safe place for students to learn. And for these reasons and many, many more, it is my pleasure to announce that Candy Young from Apache Elementary is this year's Raymond S. Kellis Leadership in Support Award winner.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Apache. Apache is like my family, my home. I love everybody there, and everything I do it with love. And thank you to every single one there is so nice to me. I cannot do what I do without you guys' help. Thank you, thank you.
So as you can see, Candy earned this award for her tireless efforts, putting the needs of others first. Her fellow coworkers say that she goes out of her way to make others feel welcome at Apache Elementary School. She took on more responsibility so her coworkers didn't have to shoulder quite as much during the pandemic. For that and so many more reasons, we are so thrilled to present the award, the Raymond S. Kellis Leadership in Support Staff Award, to Candy. Congratulations to you, Candy. Would you stand so we can give you a big round of applause? And Mrs. Becky Burhow, who you saw with that very eccentric entrance to the stage at our opening event, she was celebrated for the significant impact she has made on so many of our campuses here in the district over the years. She is known for her positive outlook and, of course, the great care she provides to her teachers and her students and the entire staff at Desert Harbor. Mrs. Burhow, congratulations. Would you stand so we can give you a round of applause? And I know you have some family that has joined you this evening, so we thank you for sharing Becky with us. And of course, we have our principal from Apache Elementary School, Mr. Schoolcraft, here, also celebrating Candy. So Candy, we'd like to have you come up. Becky, if you come up, I know that our board members may have some comments to share with you.
Welcome to you both. Ms. Hill?
Well, I went to the later, festivities, I think at 10 or 10:30, so I missed you jumping on stage. I'm really bummed out about that. I'm like, I didn't get to see that. I missed all the action because that was the earlier show, I guess. But congratulations to you both. What an honor. I mean, this is what PUSD is really all about, to try to make sure that we encourage teachers and staff members alike to be the best they can be. That really is what it's all about. We're here for the students, and I just can't sing more praises about the both of you for rising above and being the very best that we have. So congratulations to you both.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen?
Yeah, congratulations. It's always cool when you win something, when you are recommended by your peers, right? And the people around you that recognize you. And, Becky, I know you've been doing it for a long time and bring that same energy, jumping on that stage that you did, pretty much every day to work. And it's just great when you get recognized for the hard work that you do. And we're just very grateful for both of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And just to clarify the stage dive, not to cut you off, sorry, President Sandoval. But so it was hard to see in the video, but my entire staff had Burhow Fan Club shirts made. And they made this huge tunnel, and they had pom-poms. So I ran through the tunnel. So logically, the only thing to do is to, as you have the momentum and the energy running through the tunnel, is to jump on the stage. So I don't know that I would have thought of it otherwise, but it was the full package. So I know my assistant principal's like, didn't you think to look for stairs? And I'm like, no. And I haven't had the chance to ask him what he was thinking yet. So. But that's my defense.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Ms. Underhill?
I would echo both of their sentiments. I can't imagine how many things you have to think about, Candy, to make sure the school is running and all the different things are happening for our kids every single day. And it's so important just keeping them safe and keeping it all together. So thank you so much for that. And Mrs. Burhow, oh my goodness, you were so fun when my kids were with you at Frontier, and it has just carried through. And that's what makes kids love school, and they love you. And we're just so grateful that you spread that joy to everywhere you go. So thank you for being that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Underhill. Representative Pingerelli?
Well, I just want to say thank you for everything that you do. Desert Harbor has a soft spot in my heart. Our kids went there, so I really congratulate you on all your hard work. And were you sore the next day?
No, and I didn't get injured.
Good,
I had a previous bruise, so then I had people who are like, did you get that? I'm like, no, I'm still youthful enough that it didn't look graceful, but it didn't hurt.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Pingarelli. Yeah, so I'll show you later. So I was at that session, so I do have some video from my angle.
Yeah, I
So,
never did see, that was my first video footage, so.
But no, Ms. Hill stated it's who we are here in Peoria. Dr. Sorensen, I want to piggyback on what he said. This award being awarded by your peers, students, families, the community, it's just unparalleled. It's an honor, without question, to be here, sitting in front of you two, but to be given that award by your peers, that's huge, and that's a big deal. When I visit Desert Harbor and your leadership really transcends across the entire site, and it comes down to leadership and the environment that you create there not only positively impacts our students' experience, but it inspires and creates just really safe, supportive, and again, inspiring environments, for our teachers and staff, and again, and that translates, to a very positive student experience. So thank you, what you do every day. Your unwavering commitment to our youth is just unparalleled. Candy, there's the saying that it takes a village, and without our staff and without you, having that same level of commitment, to again lift up our young scholars, that this doesn't work, right? So it is truly a family. So thank you very much for waking up every day to really lead with others in mind, and waking up every day to just really lift up others. So I really appreciate you both, and yeah, just a big thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Congratulations again. Ms. Ari, we're good?
We're good. Thank you, President
All right,
Sandoval.
very good. Thank you. All right, moving on to 6.2, board comments. Ms. Hill.
I guess I want to officially welcome all of our students back to our new school year, and we had a couple little hiccups along the way, but they have all since been resolved, so yay. And I just hope that everyone has a safe and successful year and have a blessed new year.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
All right. Ms. Underhill?
I do have some comments, and this has been a really joyful beginning. I do have some comments related to our meeting, so I just wanted to share those. So basically, at our recent board retreat, we discussed a TED Talk by an author called Julia Darr, and the TED Talk was called How to Disagree Productively and Find Common Ground. And basically, in general, everyone that was there really agreed that the talk had some pretty salient points. At the beginning of the talk, the speaker stated that contempt has replaced communication. And recently, this sentiment has been shared over and over with me as I talk to different people in our community about our board meetings. And it made me think that it might be worth sharing some more points about this talk with a broader audience. A few of the things that rang especially true for me are as follows. So number one is we need to really work on separating ideas from identity. We owe it to each other to think beyond whatever perceived identity we think someone has, and we should work to listen to the ideas and not dismiss them due to our perception of what group we think they belong to or represent. Another point the author made was that she speaks about the humility of uncertainty, the idea that we should make a commitment to the possibility that we could be wrong about some things, and we should also be open to changing our minds. Another aspect is the tone of our discussion. So sometimes we can agree with ideas, but we feel defensive due to the tone, which leaves us feeling with the thought that the idea is bad because we feel attacked. Lastly, she talks about considering the common good. We need to consider that there are things we all agree on. I mean, everyone here gave up their Thursday night, right, because they care about education. In fact, I did have tickets to that Def Leppard concert, but that got rescheduled because of COVID, but I'm here. But, you know, everybody here has a vested interest in our students and in our community and our future. So are our ideas on how to make it better different? They are. But shouldn't we at least recognize our common interest and show that respect for each other? I know that at times even I haven't listened or responded as well as I should because of the tone or the tenor, and I've given into my emotions. However, in line with my faith, and I recognize we have a lot of faith in our district, but I recognize that we all fall short, and we should all consider mercy and forgiveness and, frankly, some grace. I'm committed to doing better. We have to do better for our students, our children, and we can. I'm begging us to be the example. Perhaps we can be the one community where communication comes back in place to replace contempt instead of the other way around. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate your help in bringing us back to good.
Thank you, Ms. Underhill. Well said. Representative Pingerelli?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. I have a couple, actually. This morning I had the opportunity to visit West MEC, the Northeast campus, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to piggyback a little bit on what Ms. Underhill just stated. First, I just want to welcome everybody here today. I mean, for me, the engagement from our community in our young scholars' education, the engagement in, lifting up the 4,000 plus associates that we employ here as a district is inspiring, without question. And it's all centered around, our youth and how we work together to ensure that, again, they're successful within our walls and that they are successful as they leave our walls, and they are confident and adaptable and are successful in the 21st century workforce, working with others, and throughout the rest of their lives. That's why we're here. So I do appreciate everybody staying centered around, that focus, again, our youth, and those individuals who come to our sites every day with an unwavering commitment to uplifting all of our youth. Again, regardless of who they are, where they come from, they will have a big heart welcoming them at the door and an unwavering ability to be successful here in Peoria Unified. So thank you for that and welcome again. So back to West MEC. We talked about a partnership earlier in GCU, and it was amazing. That facility, the Northeast campus, from medical assisting to HVAC, to veterinarian assistants. It was just a really, really great facility. And, again, when you talk about Peoria, in our programs, I mean, we have, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Reynolds, but we've got 26 CTE programs, and our partnership with West MEC, grows that to 19 more. It's just providing our students those opportunities to really, understand, why they were born. I always say the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And your experience here in Peoria Unified and our partnerships with the GCU and West MEC, provide those opportunities to really understand what can be and understand, what moves you and potentially what your purpose is in life. So I just want to give a big shout out to West MEC, one of our Peoria Unified's greatest, who's no longer with us, but he's the principal there, and David Swarnick, and it's a great partnership that we have here in Peoria Unified. So that said, we can now move on to Dr. Reynolds and superintendent comments.
Thank you so much, President Sandoval, Governing Board, Cabinet, and guests. Excuse me. First of all, Peoria High School Principal Landa Tartaglio was recently awarded the Jobs for Arizona Graduates, JAG, it's the acronym, Administrator Hall of Fame Award for her contributions to Peoria High School's JAG program. JAG is a great program for our students that brings career opportunities to life and gives them hands-on career exploration and face-to-face interaction with a network of employer representatives who share their career stories. Thank you, Ms. Tartaglio, for all of her work and support for our students' post-secondary success, and we congratulate her on that wonderful award. Along with Ms. Tartaglio, Ms. Holly Hallgate from Peoria High School and Mr. Steve Decker from Sunrise Mountain High School were also recognized for their service in JAG. Ms. Holgate received the High Performer Award for exceeding enrollment requirements by providing JAG services to 67 students in the 2021-22 school year. And along with Mr. Decker, received the 5 of 5 State Award for meeting outcomes of post-graduation as part of the follow-up process for the 2021 school year. Congratulations and thank you to both for the work they do to make sure our students are successful after graduation. Director of Arts Education, Mr. Robert Panzer, was recently honored with the Outstanding Service Award by the faculty of Arizona State University School of Music, Dance, and Theater. Presented by Margaret Schmidt, Dr. Margaret Schmidt. This award recognizes Mr. Panzer's outstanding service to ASU and to the profession for his many years of supporting student teachers through practice interviews, support during their placement, and mentoring teacher placements. Thank you, Mr. Panzer, for your service to the greater arts community. And finally, this evening, I want to give a very special thank you to CCV for all of their work and support this week. On Monday, one of our elementary schools needed to evacuate their students and staff as their air conditioning unit was not functioning. We reached out to CCV on a day where they had very limited staff, and they promptly made accommodations to successfully receive and provide all students and staff from that school with a cool place while waiting for their parents. Their quick response was crucial to a successful reunification, and I want to thank them for their ongoing commitment to our students and our staff, our community, and our school district. So,
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Yeah, I'll pause for a sec in case anybody wants to go grab dinner. Okay, moving on to Section 7, Public Comment. Request to address the governing board regarding matters not included on the agenda. Again, we will spend 30 minutes on this line item, 3 minutes per individual. If you have a green slip, we'll call your name in a random order to come up to the podium and speak. As always, the board president shall keep control of the meeting and require the speaker and the audience to refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, applause, protests, or other conduct which disrupts or interferes with the orderly conduct of the business of the meeting. Personal attacks on board members, staff, or members of the public are not allowed. It is inappropriate to utilize a public hearing, the public comment segment, or any other agenda items for the purpose of making political speeches. Engaging in such conduct and failing to cease such conduct upon request of the presiding officer will be grounds for ending a speaker's time at the podium or for the removal of any disruptive person from the meeting room at the direction of the board president. With that said, welcome everybody. This first public comment comes from Tracy Kinney. Okay, let me just find Ms. Rook's green slip here. All right, Ms. Rooks, welcome.
Yes, hello, board members and superintendent. I would like to address the issue of multiple employees of the district using a Facebook group called Peoria Drives Change. An individual from the Facebook group gave us parents screenshots because they believed that there was information being shared about private student information and they wanted the parents to be made aware. The packets I have given you are pages from the Twitter and Instagram account called Bloom365X Post. This account is run by the individual from the group, and they're sharing what was commented in the Facebook group by district employees. In this Facebook group, there was non-employees, which is not okay for employees of this district to be sharing private student information. Now, the board won't let us say the employees' names, but how is the district handling this? My own address was shared in this group. and a substitute teacher from my kid's school shared private information about my children. This happened to multiple parents with their child's information shared. I gave you in the packet 2 policies of the district and highlighted key points that I will read. It's our staff use of digital communications and electronic devices, GBEF. It talks about social media, Facebook. It says the board equally recognizes that the misuse of such technologies can be potentially damaging to the district, employees, students, and the community. Accordingly, the governing board requires all employees to adhere to adopted policies and to utilize digital communications and electronic devices in professional manners at all times. It goes on to, the district employees shall adhere to all governing board policies related to technologies, including but not limited to the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, better known as FERPA. Violations of this policy may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination and may constitute a violation of federal or state law, in which case appropriate law enforcement shall be notified. The superintendent shall report violations of this policy to the board and shall make reports to the appropriate law enforcement agency when determined necessary. There's also another one here of discipline, suspension, and dismissal of support staff and members. It talks about categories of misconduct, unauthorized disclosure of confidential district or student information. I would like to make sure the board and the superintendent are taking this serious and following the protocols for filing FERPA. I have filed the FERPA violation for my children's information that was shared, and I encourage the other parents to file as well. I have also filed with the State Board of Education against the substitute teacher at my kid's school for sharing my children's information. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ricks. Next comment comes from Nathaniel McClam. Do I have that correct?
Good evening, board members, Dr. Reynolds, and guests. My name is Nate McClam, and I want to acknowledge the amazing things coming up at Peoria High School, like our 100th year celebration and the amazing committee our principal, Ms. Landa Tortalio, put together. Yet I found myself wondering, would any other school have to put their own committee together for a massive celebration like this? Or would district aid them in preparation and funding? Excluding the collaboration we have for the new trophy cabinet in our West Breezeway, there has been little participation, and that's why I'm here. I'm not here on behalf of my family or faculty or even my friends. I'm here on behalf of 172 of the graduating seniors of 2022. 54% of my peers felt overlooked by this district. Before this meeting, I've sent a letter accompanied by 172 signatures of my fellow peers to every board member, Dr. Reynolds and Ms. Tortalio, who has done nothing but try and assist us. But with what feels like a new agenda, the culture of our campus has been challenged, which my peers and I realized our previous administration had shielded us from. These same things that threaten the heart of Peoria's culture. As an alumni of Peoria, I've come back to voice me and my peers' concerns. This past year, as a senior, I was asked to speak to the incoming freshmen, and I told them of this amazing school that I never wanted to leave, that gave me all these opportunities and a place that everybody belonged to. And as I was preparing to come speak to you tonight, I realized I felt like I sold them on the realities of my yesterday. I did not come here to speak for myself, but my peers, so I will stop my view and let the letter speak for itself. I thank you for your commitment to our community, which is evident in your volunteerism, and I look forward to your thoughts. And I do just want to say, as a student of Peoria, I am saddened that I am no longer a student of BUSD, and I thank you all for the commitment you have every day to my life for the past 17, 16 years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Next public comment comes from Julie Moore. Is that correct? Okay. All right, next public comment comes from Miss Julie Webb. Okay. All right, next public comment comes from Brent Cobb.
Good evening, members of the board, President Sandoval. I'm here to ask what the status is of the information package shared 2 weeks ago that Ms. Rooks mentioned. and to hear if there's any action on it, whether you can share that progress or not. I would understand if you can't, but if the information has been reviewed and if I can expect to see action taken.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mr. Cobbin, we can't respond to items not on the agenda, but what I did not state prior to entering into public comment is that the district will make sure to get back to individuals who have spoken this evening.
Our concern is that Bloom 365 is in a pool of contractors and there's an allocated amount of money that is designated to hire any one of the contractors in that pool. We are concerned that one of the contractors in that pool participated in the group that Ms. Brooks had referenced, and we want to assure that there is action taken on that contractor, their content, or at least some omission of guilt or apology, as Mrs. Underhill stated, where we can all kind of look at this event of sharing personal information, doxing parents, and ridiculing students online in a clandestine private group so that everybody understands that this issue's out in the open, it will not be tolerated, and any students or parents that are involved will be communicated with on behalf of the board with express apologies and assurances that it will not happen again. So that's item number one. Item number two, the seating in this facility, I understand today from my conversation with your administration, is based on the police department's determination of safety and not necessarily the fire marshal's seating capacity in his professional estimate of what a safe occupancy factor should be. That is unacceptable. This is a 60 seating area that's in a 140 capacity room, minus the board and the officers present. That disenfranchises other individuals should they want to show up to future meetings. And after doing a visual assessment and understanding the acceptance of ADA measures to allow wheelchair access and other thoroughfares, I believe we could add another 20 seats to this facility and an additional 25 on the back wall if that capacity is needed. I would like the board to consider that in future meetings, we allow all parents to participate and not relegate them to the hallway where no occupancy standard was stated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Appreciate your time. All right, next public comment comes from Kim Steiner. Was it? Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right, next public comment comes from Josh Gray.
Good evening, President Sandoval, Superintendent Reynolds. Glad you're feeling better. Members of the board and auxiliary staff, don't want to forget you guys ever. I've spoken at a few of these board meetings now, and I've tried really hard not to make it about me, because the students are what comes first. But due to the events of the last meeting, I feel there are a few things that need to be addressed. I've never given out anyone's personal information. I've never threatened anyone online. I've never been given an order of protection. I've done a public records request and seen the so-called evidence that was provided at the last board meeting, that packet, and nothing matches any of the things that are claimed. My name doesn't even show up in that packet at all. However, I've had to file a police report because of violent threats that were made against myself and my family due to the actions of these individuals and their supporters. As a parent with a child in this district, I'm truly terrified that if this can happen to me because I chose to speak out, what could happen to other families that disagree with them, especially if they're on the school board? The events of last week were simply meant to smear political opponents and attack the person behind the Bloom 365 program because they can't attack the program itself. Look, we all know that children need emotional support. Most times, sometimes, they get it from home. We also know that sometimes that emotional support comes at school. And Bloom 365 has a proven track record of helping students in that regard. Parents deserve the option of opting in for any and all SEL programs, including Bloom 365, which has been successful in PUSD and other districts. You know, I've heard a lot of discussion up here from parents about parental choice. And if parental choice is truly the goal, then let us have the opportunity to allow our kids to participate in these programs, and those that don't, they don't have to. They still have the option to decline the resources. But don't take away our choice to give resources to these kids that need them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Next public comment comes from Becky Smith.
read with these on. I wasn't really prepared to speak, but I do want to let people know, because a lot of people didn't get to read what you guys read, but there's a lot of things that are being said that I don't think are necessarily true. The founder of Bloom 365 did make some kind of concerning statements online. And it's not that we don't want kids getting the help they need. It's just we want to make sure it's from the right program. It doesn't need to be for everyone in the school. If it's a, like you're saying, if it's a recommended thing that a parent can use on their own, that's fine. But when you have somebody who is the organizer of an event calling parents in this room effing nuts, that's concerning. Like, I don't think I'm nuts. I'm just wanting transparency in what kids are learning, what my son will be learning. Says, I'm floored by the blatant inability of many of our neighbors on that page to be civil and engage in respectful dialogue. No wonder there are kids who show up to school in life unable to cope, communicate, or resolve conflicts. I don't feel like if you're in the business of trying to help and be kind and come alongside kids when they're in situations where they need support, that you should be attacking people online in that way. There was another thing that she mentioned something about, I think it's on my phone, about referring to crazy Christians, which it's kind of ironic that CCV stepped up to help a whole school full of kids. You know, we don't need to be called crazy Christian people. We don't hate anybody. We're not hating anybody. We're just asking that kids be treated as an individual and not labeled in a group, not separated by groups of things, whether it's the color of their skin or who they love. We're not asking for grouping and segregating kids that way. Let's see. If she stated, if you have kids and you're a bigot, you're still a bad mom. It's as simple as that. So it's just the whole person behind what's being said online that is not kind. It's not kind, it's not productive, it's not helpful. So if that's the person who's behind the company, then maybe there's another company, or maybe it doesn't need to be put out to everybody. Maybe it is a resource that for parents who like it, you can use it. But I don't think it needs to be put out to everybody, because I don't want my kid being taught that he's a hateful Christian or he's this and that just based on what people assume, like Corey was talking about, assumptions that are being made on groups of people. There's a lot of assuming going on in this whole board meeting. And that's why we've asked for roundtables to have discussions. This is not conductive to a discussion to solve problems at all.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Appreciate your time. Last public comment comes from Ms. Christina Rogers.
Hello, everybody. Okay, today I just wanted to speak on something that is going to be happening on September 2nd at Liberty High School. So there is a young boy who attended Liberty High School, and he recently passed away from cancer. And they are going to be doing, so I don't know if you guys, I want to thank you guys for allowing this to happen or however it came about, but I think it's important to recognize that Liberty High School is putting this together for him. Zach just recently passed away, and his parents made these shirts, You versus You, because this is what Zach's always said, to keep going as he fought for, I think it was 5 years now. So, but he lost his battle, but they're going to be selling these shirts at Liberty High School on Friday's football game, Liberty versus Sunrise Mountain. And so I just want to encourage everybody who can attend, who can support Zach. They're going to be retiring his number. His number was 50, and they're going to go ahead and retire it for him. His parents are excited about being able to go and attend. So if anybody else can attend, and also just want to thank Liberty High School, you guys as well, for allowing this to happen and to retire his number, and for them. So if anybody wants a shirt, they'll be at Liberty High School in honor of Zach. September 2nd. They're going to be doing it for him. So Sunrise versus Liberty, which is always a good battle.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Appreciate your time. Okay, let's see, we had no items pulled from consent. So that completes our public comment agenda line item. We are moving to section 10. Action items. 10.1, consideration of revision. Number 1, to the maintenance and operations district additional assistance and classroom site fund budgets for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. Ms. Myers, welcome again.
Thank you, President Sandoval, members of the governing board, Dr. Reynolds, and community. I do not have any additional comments to add to the presentation during the public hearing. Thank you.
And again, we do not have any public comment tied to this line item, but board members, any questions, comments that you may have thought of throughout the board meeting? Ms. Hill? Yep. Dr. Sorensen? No, sir. Ms. Underhill? Yep. Representative Pingerelli? Yep. I don't have any either. So with that said, I do need a motion to approve revision number 1 to the maintenance and operations district additional assistance and classroom site fund budgets for fiscal year 2022-2023. I'll move that we approve the revision number 1 to the maintenance and operations budget for the fiscal year 2022-2023.
I'll second.
Ms. Contra, we have a motion made by myself, a second by Ms. Underhill. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes with 5 yeas. Thank you, board members. Ms. Myers, thank you. All right, moving on to 10.2, compensation recommendations related to the revised fiscal year 2023 expenditure budget. Ms. Myers?
Thank you. Good evening again, President Sandoval, members of the governing board, Dr. Reynolds. Thank you for the opportunity to provide information regarding the additional funding that was recognized in our budget revision, as well as associated compensation recommendations related to the new budget for fiscal year 2023. Tonight, I will very briefly share information regarding compensation goals and progress to date, as well as budget team input on the new funding and related compensation recommendations. A majority of the information that I will cover this evening was previously shared at the August 18th Governing Board study session earlier this month. At the study session, I shared this slide, which is the budget and compensation priorities for the governing board, and I've also shared that compensation is a multi-year process. The governing board approved these budget-related goals in February of 2020, and there is a focus on compensation for all employee groups with a defined compensation outcome as well as a phased-in approach. The restoration of inflation funding, the 20% by 2020 funding, and the continuation of the district's 13% maintenance and operations override has allowed the district to address compensation-related priorities in recent years that have been previously shared with the governing board and are highlighted on this slide. In addition, compensation increases should not only be looked at on an annual basis, but also over time to provide a true picture of the progress that is being made. Addressing compensation and the retention of staff has been a priority for the budget team and administration, including a focus on classified staff in recent years. Included in this progress is the governing board's action that was taken on May 12th to approve a 3% increase to the base for eligible employees. I will note that that recommendation was made prior to the additional funding being approved by the legislature on June 23rd. And as I've also shared with the governing board in the past, we have a budget team that's part of our annual budget setting process each year. And this group is a work group of employees with representation from all of our employee areas, from certified to classified to administrative staff. It's a very large group, over 30 people. The budget team is not a committee of the governing board. It's a group of employees who are brought together by administration to provide input on compensation, stipends, position staffing, as well as our insurance renewal, our benefits each year. All final budget team recommendations are brought to administration to then subsequently be brought forward to the governing board for review and approval. Last fiscal year, we had a long budget process that actually not only started with the budget team beginning their meetings in October, but our first recommendations in September. Compensation discussions took place rather over the majority of the fiscal year, in part because there were significant staffing shortages in key areas with the district, as well as competition from not only other school districts, but employers and industry outside of education. Highlighted on this slide is the work that was done from a budget team and administration perspective, and recommendations that the governing board approved along the way. The use of grants has provided opportunities as well as new funding at a state level, and where appropriate, those dollars have been used to support eligible employees and associated pay increases. The recommendations included utilizing new funding from the expansion of the Classroom Site Fund that was approved by the legislature for employees who are outside of being a certified teacher in the classroom, but to include our student support services staff. And on this slide, and I've included this in past presentations, we highlight some of the main areas of support service staff, Function 2100, including attendance, social work guidance, health and psychological services, as well as speech pathology, audiology, occupation, and physical therapy services. I'll note certified employees in this area are exempt, but we also looked at the expanded eligibility and did not want to limit it to just one employee group. We wanted to support all eligible employees with this new funding. And due to that, classified hourly and exempt staff who were coded to Function 2100 and were now eligible for this new funding were also included in recommendations. I will note that our chart of accounts and our requirements related to accounting for and coding for employees is at a state level. Through the Auditor General's Office, there's a uniform system of financial records. And with that, Peoria Unified does not have discretion on how we code employees, including that Function 2100. And so I'd like to highlight it was at a state level, the employees who were eligible within that function. Included in the previous compensation recommendations approved by the governing board were classified staff in Function 2100 who are detailed on this slide. Hourly staff received a $2.08 an hour increase, and classified exempt staff received an average of $4,376 additional dollars with their annual compensation. In addition, both groups became eligible for performance pay, similar to our certified staff at an amount up to $2,800. I wanted to highlight in depth the expansion of the Classroom Site Fund and the employees who became eligible and the mechanism behind that eligibility in the way it was determined. And so with that, you'll recall also on June 23rd, we did bring forward a recommendation regarding another grant opportunity, the DES Workforce Grant. That grant is in place for fiscal year 2023 and provided the opportunity for a temporary one-year increase for our kids zone and community preschool and developmental preschool classified hourly staff to receive a $2 an hour increase for the fiscal year, as well as to be eligible for a $2,500 stipend to be paid during the year. And I'm highlighting this because I'm trying to demonstrate that when new funding has become available and it's available for designated employees, we've looked at that and brought it forward, trying to support those eligible groups. This evening or earlier in the board agenda, we did look at the additional funding that the district is receiving from the state of Arizona in the fiscal year 2023 expenditure budget revision number 1. And in a summary format, you'll see here how we looked at projections prior to that new funding when we made our initial compensation recommendations. We initially were working with a projected $5.6 million. Now with the new funding that's in place and recognized in our current budget, there's an additional $15.2 million of annual funding that was not previously known at the time we were going through our multi-month budget process, and due to that was not part of any discussions related to compensation or recommendations by either the budget team or administration, or any amounts that were approved by the governing board on May 12th. Due to the new funding opportunity, the budget team was reconvened and began to meet over the last month. In fact, we had 5 meetings over the last month to look at ongoing priorities related to compensation. And if we look at the 5 meetings that we just added, plus the 13 meetings that we had from October to April of last year, it was an 18-meeting year, and it's a record for Peoria Unified to get input from our budget team as they shared priorities for their various areas that they represent in the district, and priority areas of focus and recommendations related to compensation and the work of the budget team and recommendations to administration will be covered over the next several slides. There was a lot of discussion regarding retaining staff. It's a priority for administration as well as our budget team. This includes minimizing compression that has been in place over the years due to past pay freezes and adjustments that may benefit a newly hired individual, where a long-term individual may have been at a flat compensation level for a period of time. So compression continues to be a conversation point. But also the conversation centered around not only that longevity, but how are we going to be competitive for compensation increases? Because you'll note, and this chart really does show that our employee base is becoming newer. And in fact, the majority of our employees now are with Peoria Unified 10 years or less. And so due to that, it's essential that we're able to compete not only with other districts to hire, but to ensure we're retaining the employees that we have on staff. We invest time training those employees. They're with us for a period of time. We want to make sure we can retain them. And so that was a discussion point, especially in a time of a recognized teacher shortage. Inflation's a factor. There were a number of conversations regarding the impact of inflation, not only at a national level, which I have graphed on this slide over the last 12 months, but also Arizona's inflation, which traditionally seems to be a bit higher than the national level. The 3% increase to the base that was previously approved by the governing board for fiscal year 2023 was well below the current inflation rate. The budget team discussed the impact of inflation on employees, and new recommendations this evening will more closely align to the actual cost of living that our employees are experiencing at this point in time. And then, of course, the beginning teacher salary is so important as we're competing with other districts, including at a critical point mid-year when we have December graduates, people that are coming out of being student teachers, and we're in line with these other districts trying to hire the best and the brightest. We need to be able to be competitive. And so there was discussion around the area of new teacher salary. You'll recall in fiscal year 2021, we increased the teacher salary to $40,114. Prior to that, it was a very flat rate for a number of years. It was around $36,000. So we've trended a bit behind other districts in the area of our beginning teacher salary. That includes, of course, the base amount, classroom site fund, and instructional improvement compensation components. The amount that we looked at compared to surrounding districts, we felt that a recommendation needed to be in place in this area that will be forthcoming in the next couple of slides. And then, of course, the ongoing compression and impact from the minimum wage increases starting in 2017 with Prop 206, ongoing annual increase based on year-over-year August inflation. We went from an $8.05 minimum wage in 2017 to $12.80 for 2022. We're expecting another increase that will be 60 plus cents come January 1st. It may even trend closer to $1 increase. It just depends on where that August inflation amount comes in. It impacts our ability to recruit and retain classified employees, and that, of course, was top of mind as part of our discussions with the budget team. And so due to the highlighted concerns that I just summarized, the budget team has made recommendations to administration that are now being brought forward by administration for governing board consideration and possible approval. And I'm jumping ahead. The first recommendation is related to the district being more competitive when it comes to hiring teachers. Based on this, a recommendation is being brought forward to increase our beginning teacher salary to $48,000. This increase will include a retroactive application to any teacher who was hired for the fiscal year 2023, or I should say 22-23 school year. Current teachers who are under this new amount would be brought up to the new teaching salary, minimum teaching salary. In addition, a hard-to-fill stipend for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade is being recommended as part of the compensation recommendations that are being brought forward this evening. We would continue at this point in time per policy to offer an additional 7 years of experience at the point of hire, as well as an additional 3 years of experience for hard-to-fill areas. Another focus area was our classified staff. This group of employees, as I mentioned, is compressed annually now with these increases to the minimum wage. And we did make quite a bit of progress last year. You'll recall not only did we provide the same increase to all of our classified staff in December of 2021, but we also adjusted our salary schedule. That's something that now needs to be regularly addressed to continue to be competitive. But with the new funding, the budget team felt it was important to continue to recognize our classified staff with an appropriate increase that would allow them to not only be retained competitive with the compensation that we offer compared to other districts and employers. And so there was unified consensus from the team that a $2 an hour classified hourly and classified exempt increase should be recommended. Of course, you'll note that on this slide, what we're doing is also trying with the new funding to bring our classified up to an equal increase in many ways. I mentioned the $2.08 an hour increase with the expanded classroom site fund, as well as the DES grant that resulted in the $2 increase for eligible staff. Because those team members have already had an increase from those other funding sources, the rest of the classified field who did not receive the benefit of the increase from the classroom site fund expansion or DES grant is included in this recommendation. So I just wanted to be clear there, and that's also noted on the slide. The increase would go into effect on September 5th and then be in the subsequent pay date later in September. So it wouldn't go back to July 1st. It would start as of September 5th going forward, but it would be calculated on that employee's July 1st rate or annual salary, which already includes the 3% increase that was previously approved by the governing board. So it would actually have a compounding effect. The final recommendation is in the area related to teachers, certified classroom teachers, certified non-classroom teachers, and administrators. A number of scenarios were discussed related to additional compensation increases that could be recommended for these employee groups. And some of those scenarios have been shared with the governing board as well at the study session. There was overarching information. Then, of course, in the Friday report, we looked at the 6 discussion areas that were being considered. And the consensus from the team, and again, we met 5 times, was that 4% would be the recommended increase. And if you'll recall the slide with inflation, I banded what 7% looked like from a cost of living perspective. It's below where we're trending right now from an inflation perspective. So there was strong consensus from the team that 4% would be that percentage to the base. That amount was recommended to administration, and we're bringing that recommendation forward tonight. The budget team felt, again, that that increase would allow us to not only retain staff, as we have competition from surrounding employers, but also to align more closely with the cost of living. And similar to our classified recommendation, that increase would go into effect on September 5th and be based on the employee's July 1st salary, which would include the 3% increase that had been previously approved by the governing board. If a certified teacher was below the new $48,000 certified teacher salary, we would look at that employee and see whichever was greater, moving up to the new $48,000 amount or the 4% increase. So it would be the greater of the 2 scenarios. So I've summarized on this slide the associated cost, for each recommendation. We worked with a $15.2 million amount of new funding. This is part of that increase with the base support level and was included in the legislature's education budget that was approved on June 23rd. So this new funding would support these recommendations. They're highlighted on this slide. And there's an amount that's uncommitted at this time. $3.8 million would be available for consideration by the budget team and administration for future recommendations. So that amount has not been allocated, and there's not a recommendation at this point. However, there are future budget priorities. I did highlight these priorities at the study session, and they're detailed on this slide. We'll continue to evaluate our priorities with the budget team and administration to address recruiting and retention, very important work that we'll continue to do, as well as capital priorities pending a future bond authorization. And during our budget revision, I did share concerns that the AEL is still unresolved. And with that, our budget team had lengthy discussions in this area. And the new funding, as I shared, does support the district's ability to make these recommendations to help us recruit and retain staff, especially in the area of hiring certified teachers. So as the budget team met and we discussed if we should move forward, the response was yes. Other districts are making recommendations, adjustments. We're tracking that. Not every district has yet, but that movement is happening, and we have now even more competition with beginning teacher salary schedules and those related compensation amounts. And so the budget team made the recommendation to administration, and we're bringing forward tonight's recommendations. The team felt very strongly that these recommendations could not wait until the spring due to the challenges we have hiring and retaining staff. And so with that, this concludes the presentation. Mrs. Vesely and I are available to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers, as always, for a very complete presentation. I appreciate it. It's important for us to be very informed, as we make our decisions here as a board. So that said, Ms. Hill, questions and comments?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
Ms. Underhill?
Just, once again, really appreciate all the time and effort you and the committee put in, and I'm really glad to see us making the movements that we're able to make, and I think it's a good plan with also a good plan for Plan B. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Underhill. Representative Pingerelli?
No questions.
Yeah, no questions for me either, but, I'm just going to echo what Ms. Underhill just stated. I mean, taking that bifurcated approach to not only, lift up our associates, but also consider, what may be coming around the corner potentially, right? Our business services team has always been great at understanding that and being very responsible and good stewards, of these dollars. So thank you. If no questions or comments, I do need a motion to approve 10.2 compensation recommendations related to the revised fiscal year 2023 expenditure budget. I'll move that we approve 10.2 compensation recommendations related to the revised fiscal year 2023 expenditure budget.
I will second.
Ms. Contra, we have a motion made by myself and a second by Ms. Hill. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes with 5 yeas. Thank you, board members. Ms. Myers, Ms. Vesely, thank you both very much. Thank you. All right, moving on to 10.3, superintendent goals for the 2022-2023 school year. Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you,
Welcome,
President.
sir.
Thank you, sir. President Sandoval, Governing Board, Cabinet, and guests. At last week's study session, I shared with you a rough draft of 4 goals based on the 4 perspectives of our strategic plan: student success, safety and well-being, community connection, stewardship of resources. These 4 goals are designed to support the work that we are doing around continuous improvement. And as you can see, based on your feedback, Goal 1 is weighted more than the others because it measures students' academic performance as well as feedback provided by our students, teachers and staff, and parents. With your approval this evening, these goals will not only be used to award performance-based pay, but more importantly, it will be a target that every one of us in the Peoria Unified School District will focus on to ensure that every child has an engaging, safe, and rigorous learning environment to come to each and every day, and also that everyone in our district is known, valued, cared for, and challenged. And I recommend approval.
Thank you, sir. Board members, questions, comments? Ms. Hill?
Yes, actually, I appreciate the fact that you have taken into consideration our thoughts and views as a board, and that we wanted to put a little bit more emphasis on the first goal. And so I greatly appreciate that, because I do feel like that is our whole purpose, our whole reason for being, is to be here for the students and for them to be academically successful, and to get us back up where we need to be, because we're under, behind the 8 ball, and we want to be well above it. And so I am very appreciative that we have made that adjustment, and I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to achieve that goal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
Ms. Underhill?
I don't have any questions, but appreciate the specificity and the planning that went into it, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Underhill. Representative Pingerelli?
No, I'm glad to see the 40% for academics, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Pingerelli. Yeah, thank you again, for I know we talked about this in our study session and went through it pretty in detail. And yeah, I think it's, from a district perspective, Ms. Hill touched on it. And, well, we are here from an academic perspective. All the other areas, do come together, to influence that success. So I think it's a great approach to ensuring that. So thank you for that, sir. All right, if no further questions or comments on 10.3, I do need a motion to approve superintendent goals for the 2022-2023 school year.
I will move to approve 10.3 superintendent goals for the 2022 to 2023 school year.
I'll second that. Ms. Contra, we have a motion made by Ms. Hill and a second by myself. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes with 5 yeas. Thank you, board members. All right, we do not have any discussion items this evening, so we'll move on to Section 12, informational reports. 12.1, report on upcoming meetings and events. Ms. Eric?
President Sandoval, members of the board, just 2 quick items to bring to your attention. You'll see an item on upcoming meetings and events referencing an upcoming governing board candidate forum. We are sharing that with you on behalf of Peoria Independent. They are the ones hosting that event. So you'll see that noted on your form there. The other event we wanted to share, which is not listed, but is to honor those that we lost on 9/11. And we will once again this year be having a district-wide moment of silence taking place on September 9th at 9/11. And so we wanted to invite our community to join us along with our students in that moment.
Thank you, Ms. Eric. All right, moving on to 12.2, legislative, state, and local updates. Ms. Myers?
Thank you, President Sandoval. Members of the governing board, I do not have an update this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, 12.3, budget, facilities, planning, and construction report. These reports are on our website for your viewing at your convenience. Other business, 13.1, board member opportunity to readdress agenda items. Ms. Hill, any items that you'd like to readdress this evening? No, thank you. All right, Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
Ms. Underhill? No, thank you. Representative Pingerelli? Yep. I don't either. Thank you all. 13.2, requests for agenda items for future governing board meetings. Ms. Hill, any items that you'd like to see on a future governing board meeting?
Yes, actually, I do have one, and I believe this possibly would be something that would be put onto a future agenda. And that is, I would like to see if there would be a possibility of changing policy for our district with surveys that we're utilizing within the classrooms to remove all surveys from being used. I do know that there are other school districts, I've done a little research, that are not using surveys at all. And we've had issue with previous surveys, quite a number of them last year, and I just would like to have them gone. So I would like to see if there was a possibility of putting that on the agenda to just have that removed completely from our schools and in the classrooms.
So just to be clear, surveys, when you're saying all, I mean associate surveys, student surveys, surveys, period.
I was thinking more in the classroom, I guess is what I was thinking of. Teachers actually allocating and giving out surveys to students. I guess I wasn't clear. I'm sorry about that. So I'm referring to the surveys that are given from teachers to students in classrooms. There are many other ways that I think that teachers can, teach and get the point across, and other ways to go about, getting what they need to have done in the classroom without utilizing surveys.
We just don't want to get too far into the topic,
Yeah.
right? You've let us know what that agenda item would be, and we'll.
Clarity, I mean, any questions?
I think I understand. We'll reach out if we need some more clarity.
We do need a second for that.
I'll go ahead and second.
All right, very good. Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen, any items?
No, sir.
All right. Ms. Underhill?
I do have one. I heard from one of our student leaders about the potential of having some sort of a student position on the board, or at least a student that is consistently engaged with our board. I think it would help in the situation that we're hearing about this evening. So I just would like to put that on a future agenda as just discovery, kind of, the possibility of what that might look like and looking at other districts.
Yeah, no, I'll second that. I know it's something we have, but yeah, looking forward to that discussion. Thank you. Representative Pingerelli? All right. At this time, I do not have any items that I'd like to add to a future governing board meeting. So that said, we'll move on to 14.1. I do need a motion to adjourn this meeting at 7:32 p.m.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that. Ms. Conjure, we have a motion by Ms. Hill to adjourn this meeting at 7:32 p.m. A second made by myself. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes with 5 yeas. Thank you, board members. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Have a great evening. Cabinet, Dr. Reynolds, Ms. Contra, have a good evening.